know the story of Ripple and XRP? Well, let me tell you, it's got everything. We're going to trace this whole roller coaster ride from its origins, which, by the way, are way older than you probably think, all the way through its fight for survival against, well, what was probably the biggest lawsuit in crypto history. And right in the middle of it all, a secret ingredient that changed absolutely everything. Okay, let's get into it. But first, let me just ask you this. What does it really take to survive a perfect storm? I mean, is it just having great tech? Is it about strong leadership? Or maybe you just get lucky? Well, Ripple's journey gives us a pretty wild answer. It's, a mix of all those things. But then there's that secret ingredient. And the craziest part is, it showed up at the absolute worst possible time. Or maybe the best possible time. All right, to really get this, we gotta jump in the time machine and rewind a lot. We're going back to a time before Bitcoin was even a thing. This is where the whole idea started, a little seed that was later found by a trio of real visionaries who turned it into something huge. So picture this. It's 2004. A developer named Ryan Fugger builds this thing called Ripple Pay. Now you gotta understand, this isn't crypto as we know it today. It was a clever system built on networks of trust between people. But then, in 2011, a new team comes along, Jed McCaleb, Chris Larson, and Arthur Brito. They see this concept and they're like, we can supercharge this. They create the XRP ledger, basically taking the core idea and strapping a rocket engine to it. This new thing was designed to be insanely fast and efficient because it didn't need mining like Bitcoin. It was built for one job, global payments. But you know how these stories go. Just as things are getting good, as the company, now officially called Ripple, is starting to take off, a huge problem starts bubbling up from the inside. A fundamental conflict, a clash of visions that was about to change its future forever. And this right here perfectly sums up the problem. On one side, you've got Jed McCaleb. He's all about an open, decentralized future. But on the other side, you have Chris Larson and the rest of the leadership, and they're saying, no, no, no. The real path to mass adoption is to work with the big fish, the banks, the financial institutions. Two completely different paths. And this wasn't some friendly debate over coffee. It got so intense that in 2014, McCaleb just up and left the company. And what does he do? He immediately goes and found Stellar, a direct competitor built on a very similar idea. Talk about drama. So, with that internal storm behind them, Ripple kind of grows up. It enters this new, much more professional era. In 2017, they bring in a real heavyweight, Brad Garlinghouse, who'd been at places like Yahoo and AOL, to be the CEO. They build out this all-star team with guys like David Schwartz, the tech genius, and Stuart Alderati on the legal side. The company was building a fortress, getting ready for its next big move, but they had no idea what was coming for them. And then, it happened. The darkest moment in Ripple's entire history. The day the US government showed up with a lawsuit that wasn't just a problem, it literally threatened to wipe them off the face of the earth. December 2020. I mean, if you were in crypto back then, you remembered this date. It sent shockwaves through the whole community. The SEC, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, drops an absolute bombshell of a lawsuit, and the accusation was a killer. The SEC claimed that XRP wasn't actually a cryptocurrency at all. They said it was a security, like a stock, and that Ripple had been selling it illegally for years. This wasn't a slap on the wrist. This was an attack on the very nature of XRP. The fallout was immediate and it was brutal. The company's very survival was on the line. The price of XRP just fell off a cliff as exchanges rushed to delist it. The executives themselves were looking at personal charges. I mean, all the analysts, the media, almost everyone just wrote them off. It really truly looked like it was game over. But this is where the story takes a turn. Because in the middle of all that fire and chaos, an unexpected hero emerged. A global, decentralized army that just flat out refused to let this project die. Now, you have to understand the dynamic here because it's fascinating. You've got Ripple, the company, and its lawyers are telling them, you say nothing. You do not fight this in the court of public opinion. They were legally muzzled. But their community, the group that became known as the XRP Army, they didn't have a gag order. So they stepped up. They became the public voice of the entire project at the exact moment the company itself had to go silent. And I'm not just talking about some supportive tweets. No, this was an active, organized defense. For years, these people were on social media fighting misinformation. They were publishing these incredibly deep legal analyses to pick apart the SEC's case. And most importantly, they just kept the conversation alive all over the world. They were the heartbeat that kept the whole thing going. All that resistance from the community, it basically acted like a shield. It kept the project from sinking while the long, slow legal battle played out. And it bought them just enough time to get to the turning point, the moment that didn't just save Ripple, but finally let them go back on the attack. And that moment came in 2023. After nearly 3 years in this horrible legal limbo, the court decision landed and it changed everything. Here's the key part. The judge ruled that while Ripple's direct sales to big institutions were securities, the sales of XRP on exchanges to regular people like you and me were not. This was a monumental victory that provided clarity the entire industry was desperate for. So, with that win in their back pocket, Ripple didn't just breathe a sigh of relief. No, they hit the gas. They used that momentum to expand way beyond their original mission, transforming from the payments company into a complete, thriving ecosystem. And if you look at Ripple today, yeah, global payments are still at the core, but now they're also building solutions for central bank digital currencies. We're talking official government-backed digital money. They're all in on asset tokenization, and they're encouraging developers to build all kinds of new apps on the XRP ledger. So when you look back at the whole thing, it's just this incredible lesson in resilience. The keys to survival were all there. A visionary idea from the start, a leadership team that learned how to be legal warriors, a solid piece of technology, and of course, that secret ingredient, an absolutely unbreakable community. Which really leaves us with one last big question to think about. What's actually stronger in the end? An elegant, efficient piece of code, or a passionate community of people that just refuses to surrender? The story of Ripples seems to suggest that maybe, just maybe, the real power is when you have both.